It's the RPM Podcast, starring Eric Brennan.
That's huge. And it involves something that was given to me in prison. I could tolerate. There were 4 guys. I nearly peed myself. I don't like buns. And that thing was tiny.
Is that why you're walking funny?
Eric Graham.
I'm itchy. Tease nuts. It looks cool.
the-
So you
Schedule
take every
general.
mile and a half track, and you take it on schedule. I love the chase. I think it's great because I'm an official. It's my job to act stupid. I was about to walk out.
And Josh Matthews. He was all over him like a donkey eating a waffle. I got nothing.
Josh, you never cease to amaze me, buddy.
Josh strikes again.
And he did that in like 5 minutes. Like, he came home from work. He's like, hold on, I got to put our intro together. And it was done in like 2 minutes.
That was more amusing than a picture of Shaq with Grumpy Cat.
Tip of the cat to you, Josh.
There's next week's. Don't tip your cat. It might scratch you.
It depends on what type of cat you got.
Or never mind.
Oh my God.
Anyway, so
That
what's
just
going on in the
happened.
world of racing?
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome back to the RPM Podcast. I say back because I'm assuming that you've listened to us before. If you haven't, you're in for a treat.
Welcome.
Wow. that wasn't scripted.
In stereo.
And here's how good we are. The first thing we're going to talk about is probably the one bit of motorsports that we don't know much of anything about. And that's sports car racing. Now, granted, Eric, you're looking at me funny.
What?
Who's the road course official here?
We know enough about it, but I think the 24 Hours of Le Mans is like an embracing of the technical aspect of cars and all that stuff. I know nothing about that. I'm a numbers guy.
Well, we know you know nothing about that.
So I'm hopeful that you guys could bail me out when we start to get into this discussion in what was a very entertaining race. And there seemed to be a lot of hype leading up to this year's 24 Hours of Le Mans, and a lot of that had to do
Except
with
from
Ford's
us,
return.
I don't think we.
Yeah, we didn't touch on it once. That's just because, well, I'm a bad
I'm
guy.
putting that on you.
Yeah. No, you can blame me. I'm okay with that.
It was the European, by one day, it was the European debut of safer barriers.
That too.
And then Baku had it the next day.
They did?
They had a couple areas of safer barriers. If you watched qualifying, they showed the safer barriers.
I know they had
Baku
that
was
weird
so
barrier,
it was
but-
so it was in such a there's such scary parts of that track that they actually used the NASCAR safer barriers on it.
That's pretty wild. We're
We'll get into Baku.
There you go. That's twice.
This is
getting
getting weird.
If you think we're lying, if you're listening to us on iTunes, check out the YouTube video because you can see that this is not planned in any way.
17 episodes and we're in each other's heads already.
That's weird.
That was creepy.
Yeah. I guess you're not sleeping over tonight, huh, Eric?
I'm the big spoon.
So,
Oh, great. I just gave Josh a soundbite.
now, obviously, when you go into any 24-hour Le Mans, whatever, usually the biggest headline is the prototype class, which in this case is there's 2 prototype classes. LMP1 is the primary one. That's the one where you would see manufacturers, in this case, Audi, Toyota, and Porsche, who really put all of their effort into that. In fact, that was where Audi ended up developing and debuting their LED-style headlights that are in their street cars today. And it's also where they began to push their hybrid production.
This is sports car racing. If there's one form, racing does help manufacturers develop new technologies for cars. If there's one form of racing that definitely more than anyone else, you see stuff put on your street car, it's a 24 Hours Le Mans. Specifically that race.
It's like the old
You're
adage.
struggling today.
Yeah,
It's
it's
like
a long day.
Le Mans is tough. It's like the old adage: win on Sunday, sell on Monday. So and sports car racing really does push that more than what you see any other.
And it is a race. It's an 8-mile track, basically city roads for the most part. There's a little bit of racetrack, and they're running 24 hours on it.
Yep.
Now, going into Saturday's race, which ended on Sunday, it seemed like that Porsche and Audi were the top 2, and Toyota was a bit of a distant third, which was surprising. Porsche was favored to win the pole. They went out there, they did that. And then when the race started, unbelievably, it seemed like that the Toyota camp really found something under their race setup. And they came within 1 lap of a monumental upset in sports car racing when all of a sudden the top leading Toyota just shut off. And up till today, which we're recording on Tuesday, June 21st, they still don't know what happened. And it handed the win over to Porsche in the car that was driven by Romain Dumas, Neil Gianni, and Mark Lieb.
Well, I was talking about this before. There's like a curse against Japanese automakers. They're always trying to win this race. They've won it once. They won it in 1980. And you guys are trying to guess the manufacturer. It's
off
not.
the air.
Everyone knows Nissan. Everyone knows Honda was in it for a long time. Toyota was in it forever. It was actually Mazda that won in 1980.
Oh, I had no idea.
Yeah, that's why I said you'd say oh, because when I told you guys couldn't guess what it was, and I said you'll say oh when you hear it because Mazda's so involved in racing. They were even in that race. They're just usually a lower budget team, but they managed to win it in 1980. And Japanese teams been trying since. I mean, the race has been on since 1926. I'd say in like the 60s or so, they started getting involved in it, and they just can't win it. And they throw everything at it. Like you see, Toyota's like a insane organization. I can't talk today.
Toyota has been on the ball now, but again, going into the weekend. They were third of the three major parties. They didn't win.
They didn't win the 24 Hours of Le Mans last year, and they shut down any development on that car because they were so disappointed that they shut down all development of that car and started working on a 2016 car. Even though this is a whole racing series, the WEC,
right?
The World Endurance Championship.
This is just one race out of that. It's
right.
It's kind of like
it's their Daytona 500.
Exactly.
But, they shut down all work on that car for the rest of the series schedule, and they just worked on the 2016 car because they want to win that race.
And the biggest thing is that I think...
And you say I don't know anything about sports cars.
No, well...
We're going to have a quiz.
Maybe I'm talking on behalf of me, but the one thing that I did know, and I think I even mentioned this to both of you or one of you on Saturday, the driving combination that they had in that top leading Toyota, the number 6 Toyota, it was Stefan Sarazan, Kamir Kobayashi, and Mike Conway. I have always been a fan of Mike Conway. I always thought he is the road course racer who should have got a shot.
Well, he showed up in an Indycar, was that last year, and won?
Right.
You're not a Pruitt fan?
He got the win. I always love Scott Pruitt. In fact, I wanted
Pruitt's
Pruitt
great. It's just
to get another,
Conway's kind of like someone most... Pruitt's like a household name if you follow road course racing. Mm-hmm. Conway... I don't want to say he's unknown, but he's not as well known, but he's an excellent driver. And he kind of just pops into this series, that series, and he's always up front.
Yeah.
He never gets a full-time ride. It's kind of weird.
The only thing that I think was detrimental to Conway's resume, easy to say, is he had a short stint in Formula E, and the results were just abysmal. But that could have been more of an indication of the team that he was driving for than his actual racing
As soon as the word formula is in front of it, you're on edge the entire time. Because it's kind of like you see in football, coaches come and go. Like, as soon as anything goes wrong, they never really blame the team as a whole. It's coach's fault. Out. Maybe your players messed up, and I don't know. And that
you can't fire the whole team though. That's
I understand that. Coach. But what I'm saying is, here you have with formula divisions, it's all on the driver. Oh, he didn't perform. Well, maybe
it's like last year Ferrari fired their team principal.
But what if you gave him a crap car? Or what if you're not listening to,
You bring up a good point.
It's frustrating to me.
When we segue into the Baku discussion, I would like to also tie that into the Sam Hornish Jr. discussion when we talk about the Xfinity race. But that is a good point, and I think that's why when you look at sports car racing, a lot of times it's an even blend of the car and the driver. Because I think for the first stint that Mike Conway was in that car, we saw him literally drive the wheels off that thing to catch the front-running Porsches and Audis. And then just to put a period on the podium, Audi ended up finishing third. So pretty bizarre that I think you see all three manufacturers, 1, 2, and 3. It was Porsche, Toyota, and then Audi. And that car was driven by Lucas Degrassi, another Formula E standout. Loic Duval, another Formula E standout. And,
but you also have Mark Webber in one of the other Porsches. They didn't have a good day, but I mean he's almost won the Formula One championship. There's huge name drivers in this race.
Yeah. Well, it was also cool to see Townsend Bell take home a win in his class.
Yep.
And I would have never thought of this, but
he can only do an Indy 450.
Yeah.
But he can do like the 4,000 miles
but
or
for
whatever.
For a guy who spends the majority of his year in a broadcast booth, whether it be covering Rallycross or IndyCar or whatever, it's pretty amazing how competitive he could be behind the wheel of the car at any given moment.
He might not be on televised series, but I'm sure he's racing all the time.
Well, he's involved in a lot of sports cars.
He makes enough money where he can be running on tracks while he's still getting laps in.
But he has the talent to just go.
Yeah.
I've never seen him develop.
I was disagreeing with you saying he's never behind the wheel. I think whenever he's not on TV, he's probably driving something. You just don't see it on TV.
We'll look into that.
Oh, maybe I will.
Yeah,
I have 6% battery right now, so I can't look at it right now.
Plug your
That's
phone
because you have an Apple product. Anyway.
That's nothing.
Zing.
Anyway, what was the name of the driver? The quadruple amputee driver? Do we have that?
That
Put
is
him on
a
the
story
spot.
that I saw, but the name is incredibly hard to pronounce.
Well, I mean, I'm saying he was driving with other non-amputee drivers. So, I mean, the what they had to do to the car to make it drivable for him.
I believe that was the 60th entry, but the name is, I believe it was Frederick Sauset, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Then they also had Christophe Tinsieu and Jean-Bernard Beauvais, if I'm pronouncing these correctly. I think that's my French.
Ford had a
off.
little drama at the end of the race.
With the Ganassi camp.
Yeah, did you see that story?
I did happen to read it, but you seem
I
to have read
can
it
go
more
over
than
it
I
quick. Ganassi won in the Ford.
Sebastian Bourdais was at the wheel of that car.
Beat the Ferrari. It's kind of like the 60s again. They won the race, and then there was a protest made by Ferrari because, okay, here we go. We're going to get deep here, guys. There's something, the 24 Hours Le Mans.
Are you sure you want to do this?
I'm just going to try to do this quick.
It's a risk for you.
Hang
right
on,
now.
listeners. This isn't going to be too bad.
Might be a little bumpy
Let me-
road here.
All right. So,
Frederick Sauset, that was it.
okay. So the 24 Hours Le Mans has something called slow zones. It's an 8-mile track. So the problem being, they were trying to figure out a way to not bring out the safety car all the time because you can have a 7-mile lead, which is like 3 minutes and 30 seconds on that track. They run about 4-minute laps. And then you'd lose that entire lead. So they tried to figure out a solution for this. So what they did, they divided the track into 32 zones. Say I don't know anything about sports car racing.
Doing good. Keep it up.
So they have 32 zones. So what would happen is, say there's an incident, we'll say in zone 32, just to make it a good example. From zone 31, 30, 29, so for like an eighth of the track, they call it a slow zone. And when you hit that zone, you see they have flashing yellow lights at the beginning of every zone, and they're real big, and you can't miss them. When the car hits the line for that zone, they have to slow down to 80 kilometers per hour. So
Can you convert that to miles per hour for our American listeners?
it's approximately 47.
You're good, man.
I'll figure it
I give
out.
you credit.
I'll
I didn't
figure it
know
out
if
later.
you knew that. I figured I'd give you some credit.
You're trying.
I think my math might be off. It might be closer to like 44. But I'll figure it out later. That was off my head. So they go through that slow zone. This way they don't have to throw a safety car out in the whole track. It's actually pretty cool technology. You might see this happening in other forms of road racing. And this way the track stewards, I'm trying to use my European lingo, they can go out and clean up the mess. Because there were slow zones on the track almost like a good half the race. So it kept from having all these safety cars and stopping the action, and you could race on the other 7/8 of the track.
There were a few penalties for overspeeding in the.
And that's where I was
slow
getting with
zones.
this. So towards the end of the race, the Ford car that won, Eric would have to look up the names of the winner. Sebastian
I
Bourdais
know
was one of the
Bourdais
winners.
was in one of them.
He was a winner, I believe.
Oh, that's
Apparently,
a shame.
towards the end of the race, they sped through a slow zone. So before they could come in and get their penalty, they just added a time penalty onto it. So it was 50 seconds, which would have put them in second place with a Ferrari. And this was only noticed because Ferrari protested it. So Chip Ganassi said, hey, you know what? All right, I know just about everybody in this podcast has seen an Indycar race. So in Indycar, they have a little position. It shows the position of the car on the side of the car. They use that. That actually came from the 24 Hours Le Mans.
Yep.
If you guys never watched it, watch it next year. We should have said it because everything you see there, they do everything brand new, and then it goes to all the other forms of motorsports. It's pretty cool. It's like the highest tech. It's even more high tech than Formula One. It's crazy.
Which I believe that started years ago with Le Mans, and they had I think a series of LEDs. It didn't even have the number board, the display.
Yeah, they used
And
to
it
have
would
the
say-
top three. It was
Exactly.
dots.
And it would
Every
be
there's
what
four, There's
color-
4 divisions. Each one had a different color, and the first place had 1 dot, second place had 2 dots.
Exactly,
And then it evolved into the LED board that they use now.
They figured, hey, we can
So
make this work.
the
Let's
second
go.
place Ferrari just fell off. And I feel like I'm doing your job, Eric. The second place Ferrari, it fell off, and that's a penalty. So it was like the last couple laps of race, they were
Wait, was
black
it a penalty
flagging.
or they had to fix it?
You have to fix it. It's a black flag with an orange circle,
Okay, so it
which is
wasn't
called the
necessar-
meatball
It wasn't
flag.
a penalty in itself. It's you got to come in and
Right.
fix it. Okay.
In road racing,
The meatball.
Right, there's 2 different black flags. There's one that's a you're being penalized, and one that's you're being brought in for something technical. So they use the meatball flag, which is black with an orange circle on it. So they used that flag like the last 2 laps of the race. It was very close to the end, like the last 8 minutes. They never acknowledged it. So, and then they forgot to penalize him at the end. So Chip Ganassi said, "Oh, hey, you forgot to penalize him for that." So they filed a protest, and then it ended up he kept his win.
Okay. Because the penalties
the
canceled
fun-
out, essentially.
The fun of being a protests are awesome when you're a race director. I say that sarcastically. It just becomes a big like court trial after the race. So
do you understand now?
I'll give you the show back.
Well,
But you said I know nothing about sports car
I
racing.
didn't say you.
And I just
said
educated
we,
your
and
ass.
I just pretty much sat back and gave you an opportunity to
I just educated your
make the
ass.
show look good. And the other
I
drivers
was
who were in that
involved.
car, along with Bourdais, with Joey Hand, Dirk
He said
Mueller,
we.
and that was it. So, all right. That's
You forgot
just
I'm a
that.
road course nerd.
I know you're. Listen,
You're
I
the
know
oval
very
nerd.
well.
You're the oval nerd. Josh is Josh, and I'm the road course nerd.
I'll take it. So we're going to continue on your topic of conversation then and transition as smoothly as we can into.
Wait, we're going to continue on that topic in transition?
Well, topic of
He's
him being a road course nerd.
He's
but
trying to go into a Baku segue, and you just kind of ruined it.
There you go.
It was
Thanks,
a
Josh.
terrible segue.
I'm going to keep playing with my toys.
Azerbaijan. Let's see you say that 3 times fast.
Azure,
Let's see you say it 1 time normal.
Azerbaijan.
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 No, it's not Staten Island. That's in Staten Island. That's a pizza place on Richmond Avenue.
That's what it sounds like. We thought it was going to be a mess.
They
It
have,
really wasn't
they have
a mess.
the best prosciutto in
Not-
Azerbaijan.
I'm not talking about the pizza. I'm talking
I don't
about
think
the
there's
race.
any Italians in Azerbaijan. Now that Ferrari left.
Aside from tourists.
You said that with like a level of disgust in your voice.
All right.
Aside from tourists.
All right, so Baku.
Baku.
It was blah.
It really was.
I thought it was going to be crazy, horrendous crazy on the scale of like it was just going to be a mess. 20 cars were like the GP2 race. More than half the field had to retire. There's a big pile up in the first turn. They got through the first turn, and then it just became like another
I thought
race.
the first couple laps were
But it
okay.
wasn't even horrible. It wasn't. I'm not even saying it was horrible. It wasn't great. It wasn't as good as some of the other Formula One races.
So this
But
is
it wasn't-
Brennan 8? Brennan 7?
No, this is a Graham 5. It was completely average.
I would put it a Brendan 5 there also because
If it was on an oval, it'd be an 8.
yeah.
That's just who you are.
I don't think so. Because I think my expectations were higher that I wanted to put it on the same level as Monaco, and we didn't even see that
It's
type
not
of
that-
intensity.
It's not that kind of.
I mean,
place.
I thought the track was going to be hard enough that a couple of guys would have made mistakes and ended up putting it in the fence, and we would have like 3 or 4 safety cars, and it never happened.
Nope.
In fact,
And they hit 235 miles per hour on that track.
at the end of that straightaway.
Now, how many kilometers per hour is it?
345.
Okay.
But the crazy
So
thing
300.
is,
I'll get back to you on that. It's about 345.
the short sections of the track are almost so tight, you can't stay close enough to the car in front of you that when you hit that straightaway to make it pay off for you.
I thought the DRS zone worked out really well, at least in the beginning.
It did, and it was interesting to see Hamilton have to try to come from behind after his problems in qualifying on Saturday. But as predicted, Rosberg was the one who ended up running away with the thing. Surprise of the race was Sergio Perez again. You know,
Where
after
did
having,
Grosjean finish?
Well, they're
He was running 10th in the somewhere in the beginning. Oh, nope.
wait. Who's that? Who's that?
Grosjean.
No, he finished 14th
Thank you, Eric.
Okay.
out of the top 10.
All right.
The big struggle, I think I could have predicted it though, is the Red Bulls. They're more like this track was made more for just pure speed,
Yes.
and the Red Bulls are designed to be very good in turns. So you and the Mercedes is a very good straight line car. I'm a little surprised that the Williams weren't a little faster. They were the fastest car all weekend.
Yeah.
But they're so bad in the turns that they lost too much.
Mercedes, again, not that good on the start.
Yeah, well, I know Hamilton was already banned in the back after the wreck in qualifying, or towards the back.
I mean, he gained nothing. A lot. I mean, he stayed
Although-
right where he was.
I'm calling it now. Once Hamilton loses it, that's when the wins start happening. And he lost it in this race. The rest of the season has been so calm. Oh, my team's great. It's fine. Nothing's wrong. Once he loses it, and it's always about this time of the year, then all of a sudden he goes on the streak, and then Rosberg can't get out of his own way.
Now, there was one funny bit that came out of the post-race press conference. Not sure if you guys saw this, but second-place finisher Sebastian Vettel in Ferrari, he ended up pitching a question to the media members, which was rather random, asking who won Le Mans. And when he was told that it was the Porsche team, he just threw his hands up in the air and said, I don't know how Toyota lost. And then he looked up at the sky for a minute or up at the ceiling, and then he just went phooey. Except he gave you the R-rated version of that one.
I don't think he knew which Porsche won. So I think he might have been. Him and Weber never really got along. I think that.
I would never thought of that.
But I think that's what that was. That's instantly my mind went.
The article
he's
I
like,
read-
crap. Weber won.
The article I read made it sound more like he was a Toyota fan.
Yeah, well, the article that I read too I think it was either off of Jalopnik or Deadspin, and it made it sound like that he was really explicit with it. He yelled throughout the press room, and then when you watch it, you realize it was more of like a calm.
It was a fleeting activity.
feel the
Vettel's
pain of
Vettel's
what
very
Toyota was going
good
through.
for Formula One though. He has a good personality. He doesn't always show it that often, but I mean, he's been on the late night shows and been very entertaining.
We did get to hear Kimi
yes
over the radio
and
in the opening laps.
That's why I gave this race a 5 was because of Hamilton and Kimi's in-car.
Yeah.
Kimi was just being Kimi the whole time, telling people to get the F out of his way and doing Kimi stuff. And
I believe you sent us, Eric. You sent Graham, that is. You sent us a link it quoted Raikkonen saying something on practice or something, where he said, "I'm following Alonso as he takes a bus tour around Baku."
Vettel said that.
Oh, it was Vettel.
Yeah, because Alonso was putting around the track, and you could pass on the 2 straights, and that's it. So through all the what they call it what does Christian Horner call it? Squiggly bits. Through the squiggly bits of the track, you can't get around anybody. It's a 1-lane road. It's a goat trail, like I said last week.
Around a castle that was built
So
in the 1200s.
so Vettel's getting mad because his tires are getting cold, and he just says on the radio, he says, I would like to keep some temperature in my tires, but Alonso's too busy taking the bus tour of Baku right now. That was during one of the practice sessions.
Oh, my goodness.
Vettel's funny. The Ferrari drivers are probably the funniest out there.
I forget what Kimi was complaining about. But
Unfortunately, I think the sport's gonna be losing Kimi soon. It might be
don't say
NASCAR.
that.
It might be NASCAR's gain. I think he's done after this year.
I don't know if
There's a big fight for that second Ferrari car.
I would be interested to see.
He seemed to really. He didn't do too well, but he seemed to really enjoy himself in the truck series. He had a lot of fun. He likes how it's a little more laid back over here, although not in the press. So he can't.
I would say
talk like he likes to talk.
Yeah.
Formula One's very open with.
If NASCAR would open up,
and
or
I don't
allow,
even. I've been thinking. I don't even know if it's NASCAR's issue. I think it has to do with all the sponsors, keeping the sponsors happy.
Well, we'll see. Where
Unfortunately,
how many landscaping
I gotta be
companies?
careful because we have some fans from these kind of areas of the country.
What do you mean these kind of areas?
That's what I'm saying. This is
Are you
this is
saying where
this
town
is
areas?
no. Well, it's just
Well,
there's certain areas
You're
of our country.
doing what I did a couple weeks ago.
I'm going to be more politically correct than you.
he's
There's
thinking ahead.
There's certain areas of our country where it's very easy to offend people, and the NASCAR kind of caters to those areas of the country. Do you know what I'm saying?
Can you elaborate?
No, because I'm not you. And the people that listen to their show that live in those areas probably know that it's you. I'll leave it at that.
Well, before you dig yourself a bigger hole, the Formula One calendar will continue July 3rd at the Austrian Grand Prix, and that's another early one on Sunday morning.
There's a couple July races, and then they take their summer break in August.
Yep. So it'll be fun to watch.
The FIA kicks them out of their shops for 2 weeks.
Not a bad move.
They guard their buildings. They're not allowed anywhere near the cars.
The FIA is just insane.
But it's cool.
government.
No, it's cool because they say you're going on vacation, like it or not. You're not allowed to touch your car. But some of these teams are insane enough they probably keep fake cars in the building and they have a second shot.
I believe it.
I wouldn't be surprised with the money involved. So, all right, let's transition from open wheel to more open wheel.
Should we take a break? Because
I think we can finish up our open wheel right now.
Oh, what else do you want to talk about?
Watkins Glen.
Well, it's coming up.
Did anybody watch the videos from the testing?
I actually did not.
I didn't
Really?
see the videos. I read about the testing. That was
Josh
fun.
is scooping us on open wheel
He's doing
news.
good.
I thought it was pretty cool watching them actually.
It should be Watkins Glen should be a good track for them.
Well, I'm glad that they actually got out there. They got some testing in. I mean, it looks like it's going to work out.
I think
really
it'll be
well.
better than a Boston street circuit.
I'm still. I have to be honest. And stock cars versus open wheel, those walls. I'm just a touch nervous because I know that they're not fully lined with safer barriers.
I think they'll be okay though.
They're probably going to be fine, and I know that they have the safer barriers in like the crazy runoff.
But since we're talking about IndyCar, I haven't checked my phone all day. I know he's maybe getting clearance, but I haven't seen a headline. Joseph Newgarden's trying the race this weekend.
I saw something to that effect.
Like he just broke his wrist and collarbone, and he's trying to get out there.
Yeah, nothing new has come down.
Sounds like a hockey player.
I know he's seeing a surgeon today, so the news probably hasn't come out yet.
But apparently he got the itch after having a conversation with Mario Andretti, who suffered the same injury in the 80s and returned to race 2 weeks later. Granted, Road America will be taking place 2 weeks after Texas. So you can't rule it out as being impossible. However, Mario returned to race at Pocono, which is all primarily left turns. Newgarden is going to attempt to return on a 4-mile road course, of which the series hasn't raced on for a long time. So I think
that might help him.
Plus,
actually.
Indy cars are so physical.
Exactly.
Out of the major motorsports, they're the most physical.
But I think if you had the choice, if you wanted to return at either Pocono or Road America, you would pick Pocono because you're only moving in one direction.
It's a lazy track, if you will.
Yeah, I don't think anything's lazy in an IndyCar.
I mean, in comparison,
I think putting it on the trailer takes effort in the IndyCar.
But you also have. I mean, I don't. The other thing about Road America is, with all the elevation changes, particularly climbing the uphill front straightaway, I can't imagine what that advanced load does to your body. It's probably a sensation that they don't feel.
It's not the being pushed down to see; it's the negative G's.
Right,
so that's gonna push right against your collarbone.
Exactly.
I don't know how he's gonna. And the Hans is gonna be pushing right down on it. I don't know how that's gonna.
So I haven't seen anything come down yet on whether or not he's been approved or not. It seemed like they were speculating.
He has plates though, so it might not be as bad. It's just I still can't imagine doing that.
I suppose they could actually. I mean, and still safely without violating any instructions for use of the Hans device. Almost put something to spread the force a little bit wider.
Well, they put because race car driver, they put metal plates in there.
Yeah,
I don't think they would normally do that, but being an athlete, they take special care. So I think that's going to spread the force out.
Well,
it's just
internally,
it's just,
yes.
That's
but
right.
I'm saying
that's right where your belts are. Like,
I know,
you know how it is. It's right. Yeah. It's right where. And there's a lot of pressure in that spot, right in your collarbone.
You're not safe unless the Hans.
And if he hits something,
yeah,
I don't know.
You have to admire him for wanting to come back.
Yeah,
because
I guess the worst case you just break it again. It's your collarbone, but
but if he does come back, he in theory
look at Tony Romo. He came back too soon and snapped it again.
Yes, but in theory he wouldn't have missed a race. So to come back after going.
And IndyCar has that weird rule where if they don't enter the car, then you get points.
Yeah, we went over to St. Petersburg. That's just ridiculous.
Yeah, that something
just real quick. If the driver will still get points if they don't enter the car in the race, but if they put a substitute driver in there, the driver no longer gets points. It's like saying you want less of a car count. It's a weird rule.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. That's right up there with the Sprint Cup Series guys and the chartered teams having a limit to how many cars they could enter in a race. It doesn't make any sense at all. I was arguing with Jim about that.
I'll argue that on the flip side.
So can I go pee now?
Yeah, we're gonna take a quick break. When we come back, even though our local short track was down in the dumps this past week with Formula Drift, I don't say that in a local track thing. But
how are you gonna be in?
I'm not a drifting guy. I'm glad that it financially is good for our racetrack, but it's not my thing.
We don't like it, but there's 10,000 people at that track this weekend that.
I personally
otherwise.
may not be into it, but I have to respect that,
it's a huge car. It's not really a race in my opinion, but it's a huge. They even call it a battle. It's a huge car culture.
There's skill involved. There is.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to be.
It's just not a race. It's they don't even call it a race. They call it a battle.
I'm a race fan. I'm not a stunt fan. I mean, I like stunts, but go Roy Farfel. But I'm not a.
But I don't really like drag racing, but I don't hold it against people that do.
Yeah, but at least that's racing. At least it's one person's going to beat the other.
Now, let's go back to chariots and everything else.
I mean, one person's going to beat the. I like it, but I would prefer a Saturday night.
He's digging a hole again.
Yeah, but it's very good for the track.
I know it's good for the track.
So stop hating on it.
I don't think it's that bad. Plus, it puts a lot of rubber really high up in 1 and 2.
Yeah, but that can't benefit you guys. Different type of rubber.
Rubber's rubber.
And they go the other way, so it actually would make it a little more abrasive. That's a whole nother kind of conversation.
All right, so anyway, even though Wall Stadium Speedway did not have their regular Saturday night program up for grabs this past weekend, there are a bunch of national short track stories that we're going to talk about, and we'll also dive into the lower edition NASCAR divisions that were in action this past weekend
Can I go
in
pee now?
Iowa. We'll be right back
really
to the
gotta
RPM podcast. Stay with us.
Hey everyone, if you like what you hear, head on over to Facebook and like us there too. That's at facebook.com/racingpodcastnj.
Welcome back to the RPM podcast. I'm Josh Matthews, sitting across from Eric Brennan, who's sitting alongside Eric Graham.
Carry on. It's your show, Josh.
Tell you, that was really good. I got to watch my back. You're going to be taking over.
Oh, God, no. I don't think so.
If
Anyway.
you need someone to talk about slow zones, I'm your guy.
Yeah, you are. Well, it's great to have everybody back here in the, I don't know. I can't say it like the Matthews Family Studio. I mean, you do it the best, but it's
It is
great
the
to have.
Matthews Family Studios
Where?
in Waretown, New Jersey.
Well, it's great to have you here. I know you had a real tough weekend, coming into doing all this. I know you lost some people close to you, and I mean, there was a point we weren't sure if we were gonna push this off or not, and we're here to support you, and just glad you could make it, and we can put this together.
Yeah, thank you, Josh. It means a lot. Now, I'm not going to try to turn the tone of this whole thing downward, but the truth is that most of the people who are closest to me, including you guys, know it's been rough. We've been pretty public about talking about what my nephew's going through. Unfortunately, so far he's kicking cancer's butt. But on the other side of the fence, we lost my Uncle Mark this past Sunday, my mother's youngest brother. My personal relationship with him was not as strong as what I had hoped, but he's still family nevertheless. And perhaps most shockingly, somebody who I considered to be like a cousin to me, young Joanne Resco, who is a lieutenant for the FDNY in the EMS division. We lost her on Saturday morning in a hiking accident, and it's pretty much as shocking as any bit of news that I've received over the past year or so. And our family's hurting, and we're thinking about her family, my Uncle Mark, his immediate family, and everything in between. But it's hard to talk about. But I'm still amazed with all the thoughts, prayers, and supports that I continue to get from people in our racing community, my closest friends, family, their friends, their family, everything. And it means the world. And, Josh, thank you for giving me an opportunity to talk about it, because I feel that I would be turning a blind eye to those who choose to support me and everything that we've been going through. Hopefully this is the end and everything goes up from here, and we could just keep on having some fun talking some racing. It's hard to transition from that.
Oh, it is. It is.
But we're going to, and thank you guys again. I love you both like brothers. I'm not going to make this weird. We can just end it there. I love you guys like family. Eric, you give me a weird look.
Because that's usually how you look at me when you're going to start rubbing my leg again. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, you're right. So we're going to move on, and we're going to talk about the two top three NASCAR sanctioned races with the Cup Series being
The
off.
two top three. Okay.
Two of the top three. I
Okay.
told you it's hard to transition from that stuff. Jeez.
It's a feel-good story coming up, though.
It is. Now, first we'll talk about the Truck Series race, which I watched from the basement of a college graduation party, which was a good time.
That
doing-
does not
were-
sound seedy
Were
at
you
all.
doing like keg stands and stuff? And
No, but it was
Wearing
fun
togas?
watching everybody go
He's
in and out of the
driving
bathroom all night
upside
long.
down, man.
No, it was me and Staten Island Jim in the basement of this house while everybody else was outside playing cornhole. And there was some weird
that's another
beer-
soundbite. So wait, you and Staten Island Jim were skipping out on the cornhole
Yeah,
to go down in the basement with each other.
100%. Yeah. And then there was some girl in and out of the bathroom. And
He
she
doesn't
had,
even know what he's saying half the time.
Wait. And Staten Island Jim's dad was there. And there was some weird beer on tap. Newcastle, first time I ever had it. And it wasn't that bad. It was
That's
a dark
weird
ale.
That's
beer.
not weird.
I never had it. It was a dark ale.
This
I'm not
weird-
really
I'm
into
this-
dark ale.
I'm sorry it's not redneck.
This
you know,
weird
light,
beer is
whatever.
called Miller.
So, but it was a good time. There was
Well,
some girl coming in and out of the bathroom who had purple hair. They call her Perps. And
Better than me called Herps.
I agree.
That's
So-
worse nicknames than Perps.
So we got to watch the truck race. It was a great race through and through, and I'm very impressed with William Byron. Third win of the year in his first 9 starts, and honestly, I thought these were the same results we were going to have with Christopher Bell in the 4 car that Eric Jones just gave up. And Byron is really grabbing the team by the horns. It's great to see, and I'm pretty surprised. And you may want to give him a little bit of flack. I don't know what the direct relation is with him and Liberty University, but there's got to be something. Or they just happen to like him enough to support his racing endeavors because they've been with him from his NASCAR start. And he's really proving that he belongs in the truck series. It's good to see. Also, ThorSport had a great return. They had 3 trucks out of 4 in the top 10
While they're working on their cars in a parking lot.
after the shop fire. Unbelievable.
I finally saw some more photos of the new
yeah.
air quotes for those of you not on YouTube, new trucks, which are, I mean, they're just torched.
Yeah.
They're so torched. I mean, the steel can't even be.
I actually happened to catch an interview on SiriusXM driving home with Cameron Haley, who was another driver for ThorSport. In fact, he finished 3rd, I believe, this past weekend. And he was actually saying, it's funny because when the truck series starts, you have a race, then a month off, then a race, then a month off, then a race, and a month off. Then you hit this summer stretch where it's a little packed. And he said, of course, the shop would burn down when they hit this stretch when it's a little packed and they don't have as much time to get ready. And he said they were actually thrashing in the parking lot trying to figure out a way to get their gateway trucks ready, which you got to feel for that team. If they can go out and win and perform that well, it would be a really, really good story. And one other item that I was following is, of course, this is the first year that they introduced a chase format for the Truck Series and the Xfinity Series. And for the Truck Series, it's the top 8. And right now you got Byron, Crafton, Hunter Nemechek, and Sauter with wins. And then the 4 drivers who don't have wins are Peters, Hemrick, Reddick, and Kennedy. Kennedy doesn't even have a solid ride for the rest of the year. And then just outside of that, you have Gallagher, Haley, Custer, and Bell. And then just moving down lower and lower down that ladder, who won't be eligible anymore, will be Parker Kligerman and Ryan Truex.
That sucks for Ryan Truex, man.
And Truex, of course, didn't have funding. He will be at Gateway, though.
He definitely would have made the chase.
He would have been sitting pretty.
Yeah.
So it's tough to see. But there are still some really good drivers who are outside of that mark that could still leapfrog their way in or get a win and get in that. And I think the truck chase is going to be a little bit more fun in the Xfinity side because the competitive nature of the field is a little bit wider. So it'll be fun to watch. They'll be heading to Gateway this Saturday night for another short track event.
I generally like the trucks over Xfinity.
Yeah.
I think everybody likes the trucks the best out of the 3 series that follow the 3 series.
Yeah.
Now, I would say that the Xfinity Series had the best storyline racing-wise, and I'd say it would even trump what ended up happening in Le Mans. And it involved former IndyCar and NASCAR driver Sam Hornish Jr. after he got a phone call on Monday, so 6 days prior to the race taking place, that Matt Tifft, who was scheduled to drive that car, 19-year-old up-and-coming driver, development driver for Joe Gibbs Racing, had a problem in his lower back, an issue with a disc. I think they said he might have had like a slip disc or something. I'm not exactly sure.
Did he pull a Tony Stewart? Or?
So, no, this was a little bit different. In fact, they said that he had a procedure done this week, and he should be on tap to start the race in Daytona in a week and a half from now. But nevertheless, they had a vacancy, and they weren't sure who was going to fill that void. So they called Hornish, who hasn't driven a car since the end of 2015. And Hornish comes off the shelf. He beats Daniel Suarez, the teammate. I think he had a car that could have ran with Eric Jones if he didn't have fuel pressure problems. And he ends up going to victory lane, his 2nd time in Iowa and the 4th of his career. And he gave an emotional victory lane speech because he said, ironically, on Father's Day, it was the first time that his kids were there to see him in the winner's circle.
He was crying.
And that was pretty cool. And it got me to thinking, I don't remember, and maybe you guys could help me, of a driver being able to step up and take advantage of an opportunity like that, probably since Brad Keselowski did it in a truck.
We talked about him before, Mike Conway.
Yeah, that too. When Conway got the one-off start for the Ed Carpenter racing car
Was
a few
that
years back.
Detroit?
I believe it was. And on the stock car side, the only example I could really think of is 2006, when Brad Keselowski got the opportunity to fill in for the then-suspended Ted Musgrave at Memphis. And he started on pole and led the race just about 9 to go when he got spun by Travis Guapel, and that was what got him in the door at Junior Motorsports. Aside from that, I really don't know of somebody taking advantage of an opportunity like that. And the irony of it is they had the Xfinity director of competition for Joe Gibbs Racing on Sirius as well, right after they talked to Cameron Haley. And they said, are there any plans for Sam going forward? And they said, honestly, as of right now, no. So even
He's
with
a
that
really
win,
good driver, too. You're surprised, like, no one's grabbed him.
well, even with that win, you would hope it would propel him back into a position to land a competitive ride. And at this point, I'm not sure if it has, but at least he kept his name relevant for a little while. It was really, really good to see. I don't know if you guys were able to see it or if you could think of anybody else who took advantage
No,
of
I saw
like
it.
that.
It's just, I think we talked about this before the show. It was cool. It was a cool moment. It's nothing we can argue about. We all agree it was cool, so it's hard for us to really talk about it. It was really cool to see. We have some stuff coming up, though, that we could talk about.
Well, but first, I think the best, well, not the best thing that we can get out of the way, but the first story, which was pretty horrific that came out of the weekend, was that former driver Mike Wallace and his daughter.
I was going to do a segue with this because you mentioned Miller before, and I was going to bring that to Miller Lite, Rusty Wallace, and no, never mind.
It would
That would have been more of a subway than a segue.
Yeah. Former
6
driver
degrees
Mike
home.
Wallace and his daughter were attacked while leaving a Rascal Flatts concert in North Carolina. There were some
Well,
pictures
life is a highway.
of Jesus, Josh. My goodness.
I need the womp womp sound effect. That's what I need.
The picture of Mike Wallace that's floating around there is pretty gruesome. He did say that he was diagnosed with a concussion. There are some reports that say that it may take anywhere between 5 and 10 months to repair the damage that he sustained to his teeth. And
He was still not able to see out of one eye as of this morning.
Yeah, there was that too. Meanwhile, his daughter, Lindsay, she suffered some severe bruising in her midsection, and I believe also there were some other people involved in the ruckus. They pretty much got jumped at the end of this concert. Not sure what premeditated
yeah.
it.
I
But-
mean, there's three sides to every story. They might have said something, but nothing that could possibly said justifies that happening.
Now, we did see...
Like you said
Three,
earlier,
three
it
grown
was-
men beating up on a guy and his daughter. You know,
Well,
that's
especially after
ridiculous.
he was already unconscious and on
right.
the ground.
They're
That's,
kicking him on the ground.
yeah.
That's what the eyewitnesses said.
Right. Now,
So you don't know what started the situation, but you know that it went way overboard.
and honestly, I mean, he almost looks kind of like Felipe Massa did after that spring, took off.
That's an interesting comparison.
I think
He got beat so bad, it looks like he took a spring to the face.
you want to keep it racing related. I mean, think about imagine driving 200 miles per hour into a spring out of a car.
Oh, well, that's seriously messed up, Mass. It was just a weird. I didn't even make that comparison in my head. That was just kind of an interesting direction to go. No, I got you.
Do you agree?
It's now we're laughing about this, but it was just a horrible situation. It's interesting to see how social media is like attacking his company. I know Eric's probably about to get into that.
Well, yeah, that's where we're going to go, probably because you can see my laptop from where you're sitting. But the one thing that they were able to catch was these guys got into a specific commercial vehicle, and they were able to get that out on social media. And since then, I mean, they've been getting absolutely harassed.
Their
on all sorts
their
of
Yelp
websites.
reviews. It's what was it Lucas Lawn in North Carolina? You can just
Yeah.
Google that, and their Yelp reviews. I mean, there's a lot of other people that work for this company, but the Yelp's pretty hilarious. I can't help it.
Well, I don't think they help themselves because they released a statement today, and I'm going to read it. And I'm going to try not to read the whole thing, but I may be forced to just because of how abysmal this thing is put together. On Friday, June 17th, one employee of our company was accused of being involved in an assault upon one Mike Wallace and Lindsay Wallace Van Wingerden. Since that time, Mr. Wallace and various other individuals have chosen to post statements, comments, and opinions regarding the circumstances on social media websites. This has resulted in verbal attacks upon our business, suggestions that our clients abandon our company, and innuendo regarding our business that we believe is designed to both frustrate the proper administration of justice within our court system, and prevent our company from continuing to do business where we employ over 70 individuals who work hard and depend upon their jobs to support themselves and their families. I want to really address the point here. This is off the record, not in the speech. There was not one comma in that entire sentence.
You did a good job making it a giant.
Continuing
I was
on.
starting to nod off.
Like, No, I mean, I seriously, as you read
I just kept
there's not
hearing.
one
I just kept
comma
hearing.
there.
I'm not sorry. We're not sorry. We're not sorry. We're not sorry. And I was starting to
there,
nod off.
there was no apology in there. It was kind of preachy, if you ask me.
It was defensive.
Which now I understand they don't want you to get mad at.
It's two of the sons of the owner. Okay,
Now,
they're in a company
wait,
truck.
What he read, and we talked about this earlier.
They say
off the
one
air.
employee.
They said one employee, but now you're saying there's also the
but
two
maybe
sons.
only one's employed.
Okay.
But if you could see the names, the two of them are last names Lucas. I imagine they're
Maybe they work for the.
maybe
Lucas
it's
Oil.
a cousin. Maybe.
Anyway.
I went and get Lucas and Oil. There goes our Lucas Oil sponsorship.
I'm making.
But I mean, they're in a company truck.
I'm playing devil's advocate.
They're in
here.
a company truck.
There
Yeah.
was something here that was saying that they don't take they take all the action their employees seriously, and then there's something else here that says, however, we respectfully ask that those who rely on social media postings and one-sided representation of fact consider the motivation behind those efforts.
But what justifies
world?
What justifies what happened to them?
Well, the biggest thing, in my opinion, is the fact that they left.
And by them, I mean Mike Wallace and his daughter. Like, what justifies that?
I know, but these three people who were arrested and then later released on $1,000 bail, they left.
That's what Kenny Wallace was mad because they got out of jail before Mike got out of the hospital.
But if you're involved in this type of situation and you think you have a leg to stand on, you don't leave. Even if I got into a confrontation with somebody and I was fortunate enough to beat them to a bloody pulp, even if they were the aggressor in the situation, I know the police are coming. I know that the situation's not over. Why would I get in my truck with commercial lettering on it and leave?
All right, the commercial lettering I can't argue. However, there is a fight or flight, and you're kind of at a holy crap, this just happened moment, and hopefully nobody saw my face and get out of there. And hope
but that's my point. That would be a reaction if you're guilty. This statement by this company, which appears to be in defense of the people which they're saying that they wouldn't condone their actions, is doing.
It's just there's no saying, "Hey, I'm sorry this happened to Mike and his daughter." And a normal situation, you'd see that at the start.
It should have been more apologetic. It was not at all apologetic. And
it was, "Hey, stop attacking us. There's other people that work for our company."
Now, I understand that
they're playing the victims here.
No, all right, they shouldn't be necessarily entirely playing the victim. I understand that you're talking about let's say there are three people involved, right? If you include the two sons and one employee.
This guy Magnum.
Sure, whatever.
I said he sounded like a porn star. I forgot his name.
I don't. Anyway,
goodness.
I'm
laughing. I'm giggling like a little schoolgirl. Like an off-the-record conversation.
I just
laughing about it.
I just want to finish my point.
I'm sorry, Josh.
All I'm saying is their initial paragraph. I'm going to mute you. Don't even think I won't. Their first paragraph was saying, "Hey, please don't blame all the other employees of our company for what these three people did," which I think is fair. That part's fair, but there was nothing apologetic in the statement otherwise. Well, I mean, not that was. But.
And then I'm not going to read the rest of the statement, but I mean, it just they continue to dig themselves a deeper hole. Quote: "We are saddened that we have felt the need to engage in this release, but it does, unfortunately, appear that Mr. Wallace and his supporters intend to have this matter resolved in the court of public opinion." So, in other words, if Wallace and Kenny Wallace and their family and their fans...
Kenny Wallace's Twitter was epic Saturday night.
Yeah, and I think it's still there if you guys want to go look at it. If they never rallied the troops and went after the people who were responsible for this, they wouldn't have put anything out at all, is what they're saying, essentially.
Yeah.
This is pathetic, and I think this company deserves everything that's coming to it. From what I've read, they've lost a lot of contracts, including possibly the PNC Center in Charlotte, which I don't.
I mean, it does suck because there are innocent employees.
Right, and I've always been a firm believer in everyone having their fair shot, especially in terms of the court of public opinion.
I don't disagree with what they said. I disagree with how they said it.
And I believe that everyone deserves a fair chance. I never thought that anybody should be punished by something they've verbally said or have done in their private life. However, I think that these people, maybe not everybody in the company, deserves what's coming to them. And it's a story that we'll continue to follow.
I really think their whole statement was just, they got upset and, because they're being attacked and they have no way to defend themselves, and it turns into...
My vagina!
Yeah.
I don't know.
Josh is like in some
how
weird
is
kind
that-
of.
How is that even relevant?
Josh is in a weird space today.
They're hurting. So now they're trying to. Never mind. Forget it.
Okay, so now
It's
you
good,
can
though.
segue
I mean-
from that to our dirt discussion.
Do we want to
Dirty.
Do we want
vaginas.
to take another quick break and then do our?
I think we should
actually
take
have
a,
short. There's actually a couple good short track stories.
I think
And
we
got
should.
a
I think
hu-
she.
One of our second biggest event at Wall's coming up this weekend, so we can talk about that a little bit. And
I think we should. Let's take a short break.
because we actually have a little bit to talk about. So
That way we can all pee.
Eric's kind of looking at us weird.
No, we can take a break. I'm okay with breaking. Let's
We're
just take a
commanding the
break.
show today.
But anyway, this lawn company kind of, I don't know. It
Go
sucks.
to their Yelp
It sucks
and
because
leave an angry review, even if you don't know who they are.
you know what sucks about this. I'll just close it out with this: is that the wrong people are going to be hurt by this social media attack.
Yeah, but that happens.
I know. I don't think the actual owners of the company, which does seem to be directly related to someone involved in this event, I think they'll be fine in the end. They'll lose some contracts and they'll have to cut a bunch of employees that aren't. Their last name isn't Lucas.
Where did this happen?
North Carolina.
North Carolina.
Oh, they're gonna
And
lose.
I actually saw that Rascal Flats ended up sending out a tweet, expressing their sympathies to Wallace and his
Who
family,
fights
which
at
is
a
pretty
Rascal Flatts show?
cool. But I don't understand. I don't get it.
I went to one and I kind of fell asleep. That's not really my thing.
Yeah, but you didn't at the Darius Rucker concert.
No, Hootie was fun.
Hootie was awesome.
I like Hootie.
Anyway.
Rascal Flats was kind of blah. That's just my opinion.
if they're
if
North,
I offend you, suck
Was
it.
I at that concert?
Yeah,
I don't even remember.
Yeah.
That's how bad it was. You're right.
yeah.
anyway, if they're in North Carolina, you're talking
But hey,
Racing Central. They're
they're
who are the
screwed.
anybody?
And within like 10 minutes of it happening, the address of their house was out.
Anonymous.
Yeah, I mean,
Kenny Wallace says, I can't get involved. But he kept retweeting everybody, giving out their personal information. And he kept saying, I can't get involved.
he went in there like gangbusters, and he
But
just took care of it.
think
It was
about
like the racing mafia. It was actually pretty cool.
If you're in Racing Central, which I think North Carolina is,
Oh, absolutely.
all right, and a lot of NASCAR fans, any of them, they're like, oh wait, that's my company, gone. It will hurt the owners.
But the problem is,
I
I
think
don't,
they may-
it's not, I don't think it's going to hurt the owners. They'll
I
just have
think
to
it
cut
will.
down on their employees. They employ 70
they're
people.
going to lose.
To be quite honest, after looking at that statement, I don't feel sorry for anybody. In fact, I wouldn't be
I feel
surprised.
sorry for Mike Wallace
some
and
of the
his
im-
daughter. And why are three guys beating up on a woman? I don't want to. Maybe
I
I don't
don't
want to
get
sound
that either.
sexist. I believe in equality.
Tapping
but
out.
You don't do that.
Tapping
No, you
out.
don't do that.
No, I agree with you. When I said I don't feel sorry for anybody, I mean in that company. And I wouldn't even be surprised if some people decide to walk
But no,
on their own after
but
this happens.
the wrong people are going to get hurt.
Yeah, perhaps a handful. But I think the rest of them,
People are going to lose their jobs over this, but not the right people.
well, we'll see how it all unfolds. They may not be able to even work when this is
I
all
don't think
said
I
and
don't
done.
think they'll get out. of
Depends
business.
on how
there
far
are
this
enough
is gonna
people in the
go.
world, even in North Carolina, that know nothing about racing and won't know anything about this, and they'll just keep having them mow their lawn.
That's fair. All right.
Well, when we come back on the other side, as Eric mentioned, we're going to tackle a couple of national short track stories that are making headlines. We'll also preview our second biggest race of the year at Wall Stadium Speedway. We'll be right back to the RPM Podcast. Don't go anywhere. Hey everyone, this is Eric Brennan from the RPM Podcast. If you're looking for a dependable full auto repair and preventative maintenance center, then you need to check out O'Shea's Auto Repair in Wall, New Jersey. The family man himself, Tim O'Shea, has been providing the highest quality of automotive repair since 2000 on both domestic and imported cars, trucks, and SUVs. From race cars to street cars, O'Shea's Auto Repair covers it all. For more information, visit their website at o'sheasautorepair.com. O'Shea's Auto Repair, supporter of the RPM Podcast and proud sponsor of the O'Shea Auto Repair Factory Stops at Wall Stadium Speedway. Welcome back to the RPM Podcast as we get set to dive into our short track segment to wrap up.
Lascally rabbit.
It's all going so well.
This has been snafu day. I had like 3 of them.
Yeah, it really has. And I haven't had one beer.
He's hunting wappets.
Rabbit season. Wrap up
Duck season.
the show with a little bit of a local flair. However, we're going to tack on a national
That's karma right there, bitch.
a national storyline. In fact, 2. as I
I wish I could like reverse in
flip my phone
real time.
back. What?
Josh gave us toys.
Nothing.
Yeah, we've been playing with this stuff all night long.
You're welcome,
And
Josh.
They're actually intended for Josh's 2-year-old son. And
He's gonna be 4 in August.
Yeah, I was gonna say he hasn't been 2
Wait.
for a while. He was 2 a year and a half ago. That's cool.
I'm trying to count the years till you unleash your master plan. That's why.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, I'm
14.
giving you longer.
Well, 13. No, 14 and 2 months.
Oh, my phone's going off. I
Depends on
forgot
what
to
state
mute
you're
it.
in. Wait a minute.
Whoopsies.
That sounds even worse than what my master plan is.
It-
Now I'm
it
gonna have to be
does.
explaining at a wall.
That's how good of a friend I am. I know how old his son is. So, I'm sorry, Josh. So,
all right.
well, that's because I have the mentality of a 2-year-old because I've been playing with these things all night. So, come on, Josh. Really?
I'm just my mind's just going with more stuff I can use on intros.
On a more serious note, it looks like that the Madhouse has gotten even a little too mad. This is probably the first time ever that I've seen this headline in perhaps the last maybe 6 years of insanity that makes up Bowman Gray Stadium. I credit Speed51.com. Driver, crew member suspended for Bowman Gray incident. NASCAR officials have issued penalties after an incident between competitors in the pit area during the June 18th event at Bowman Gray Stadium. Joe Ryan Osborne has been suspended from competition at Bowman Gray Stadium for a period of 3 race meets after maneuvering his car in an unsafe manner through the pit area. David Hill and Randall Smith have been suspended from competition at Bowman Gray Stadium for a period of 2 race meets for confrontation in the pit area. These penalties apply to competition in Bowman Gray's NASCAR Whelen All-American Series events and will not affect competition in other NASCAR series. Now, there are 2 versions of the story. I think we've touched on both of them slightly in our own little personal
The
conversations.
main difference in this story, everyone agrees that this happened. That the one guy jumped in the car, which we've seen at Wall a million times. It's really
Yeah.
the dumbest thing you could do. No, I
You're
mean-
putting yourself in such
Yeah.
a bad, unsafe position.
But anyway, regardless of that, the story varies from one side of there saying the one guy jumped in the car or 5 guys jumped in the car. And then basically the guy jumped in the car and the driver started driving around doing donuts in the pits was how it was described, trying to throw him off the car.
Yeah, and you know what? Here's the thing. If you take this incident and you try to sync it up with if something happened on the street, you can understand the driver's perspective to try to get away from the situation. However, everyone has to keep in mind that usually, think at Wall at the end of the night, at the end of our races. We open the pit gate to allow fans in to try to see the cars up close. We even kind of waive the hot pit rule towards the end of the night once our last feature's over, so we can get fans in there quick enough to see their teams.
We don't waive the hot pit
We don't
rule.
waive it, but once the
don't.
last race is over, I'm not trying to get us in trouble here.
We don't. We make sure the last car's turned off and stuff.
Right, but for argument's sake, car in the back of the pits, something like this happens, and you have to keep it in mind that there are people around who have nothing to do with competition on the racetrack, and you can seriously hurt somebody who's not involved on the competitive side of the sport.
That's an understatement.
And I think that's something that needs to be taken into consideration here. Plus, as a driver, you're wearing a lot of stuff to keep you kind of safe. So if you just kind of sit tight for a couple minutes,
but you
you'll be
do feel
okay.
vulnerable because you're strapped into
You're
a car.
strapped in. You can't just jump and.
But I
and
understand you have a
basically run
helmet
away.
on, so you're definitely not going to get a concussion by somebody swinging at you.
Right.
It's stupid all around.
Well, exactly, and that's why I think the track did the right thing by penalizing both sides, and because you know what, it may have been incredibly hard to figure out who exactly was at fault for what.
I remember a couple 1 races there with 3. It's a 3-race suspension. It's kind of like a.
Yeah, 3 for the driver, Joe Ryan Osborne, who has brought his legend car out and raced a Turkey Derby at Wall before, and has run very well. He's a talented little driver, and it looks like going to North Carolina was part of a career move for him. And then 2 for the 2 crew members involved, 2 each. So they're looking to try to find the best way to alleviate this from happening again, and maybe they set an example. I can't recall the last time they handed down a penalty like this.
Apparently, someone's trying to huff and puff and
No,
blow Josh's
my neighbor's
torch down.
borrowing a tool.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a
That's
torch. A torch.
Things have moved on past sugar, huh? And you wanted a soundbite, Josh? Here you go. My
trying.
neighbor's borrowing my tool.
I said a tool, not mine.
Oh, okay.
I'm sure it's yours.
It's
certainly
just,
not mine.
It's just you have to do something really special at Bowman Gray to get suspended because it is kind of like it's called Madhouse for a reason. Things that you get suspended for a couple races there would probably suspend you for at least the whole season in our track and maybe even longer than that.
Yeah.
Like people have gotten lifetime suspensions for less.
Sorry. A certain person came to mind.
I'm not even talking about that person. I'm talking about other people.
I'm sure you are.
And I'm not saying that's wrong to suspend them for it, but you really have to do something special at Bowman Gray to get suspended. So that actually kind of shows the severity of the situation is what I'm getting at.
Well, the track would have made the right decision if they just closed its doors. I don't.
Josh, I mean, you can't say that that's the solution to the problem.
I don't like that track. I understand that that everybody they pack the stands. Nobody denies that. They're making money. But everybody's going to see a fight. There's no banking at the track. I don't think the racing is any good, and it's just all about the fighting.
The banking has nothing to do with the poor racing. It's literally a running track. It's very narrow.
All right. That doesn't.
If it was, you can have very good racing on a flat track. Like New Hampshire is an example of that. Even though I know there's a couple degrees on New Hampshire, but
I think it's part of the issue.
Eric, your toy's very distracting.
Anyway, so.
But
the point is, they're selling fights. I mean, it might as well be fight night. I mean, it's not racing. We've talked about this before about Daytona or Talladega being entertaining, but not a good display of racing.
It's kind of like it's not predetermined like WWE, but it's kind of WWE of racing where it's.
The point is, it's entertaining, but it's not racing.
I think it's racing.
But a lot of people go there and they love it.
Racing.
A lot of people go there and they love it, and that includes fans of like tracks like Wall. A lot of Wall fans go
Okay,
on a trip there once a
here's
year.
my counter argument. If it's not racing, then why do they have such large fields every week?
Because people love fights. People love.
Why
do people watch cops?
You would want to bring your race car there just for the sense of trying to get into a fight.
I don't.
No, but you think
I
that's
have
what
a
people do.
No, I think part of the appeal of racing there is you're racing in front of 10,000 people.
Because you're going to get cheered on.
Yeah,
But,
exactly.
I mean, there's a huge
If
crowd.
it wasn't a form of
And
racing,
it's a spectacle, and it is. What would be your guess at the most well-known short track in the country? That and Eldora,
yeah,
and then probably Bowman Gray first.
right.
So you could say I raced at Bowman Gray.
No,
I don't. That doesn't do it.
Not for you, but there's a lot of people that would like to say that. You know,
I don't know. I don't. I personally don't see the appeal. There's nothing against people that train for like UFC or
And I know what
stuff.
you're getting at. You're saying it's not like pure racing.
It's not about who's cross. I mean, because in how many we talked about this in F1, there's so much other stuff going on during a couple of the races that Rosberg won, huh? Look at that. We didn't.
Okay, it's the short track equivalent of like Martinsville is to the Sprint Cup.
I think I have a good example. I would argue that Bowman Gray is like a permanent short track that represents what we see in the indoor races, and I think that the indoor stuff takes a lot of talent, a lot of finesse. It does take a lot of luck.
Maybe on the TQ end,
right?
But when you're looking at like Champ Karts or the slingshots, they actually can make a real racetrack out of it because they're smaller cars.
Yeah, but I mean, I think the TQs can too because you see a lot of the same guys run so well each and every time
I see you're coming out with a TQ where it's like yellow.
Yeah, but it's because of the confines of the racing surface. But I think the talent will prove and show itself, just like we've seen at Bowman Gray. I mean, the Myers brothers always run so well. They're basically got the place figured out. It's not like it's a track that's like impossible to showcase any talent.
And then one of our guys from Wall went down there and just like won the championship.
Who's this?
Bone,
yeah.
Oh, I don't know why that went right over my head.
He's like, hey, I'm gonna go race at Bowman Gray and win the championship. Representing Wall.
Because when I hear one of our, I'm thinking today, like one of today's guys, he's still doing. his thing.
Last year he won the championship.
No, but he hasn't raced full time at
The
Wall.
Factory Stock sponsor was
before
down.
I was there in 2012.
You're acting like that's forever ago.
For me, it is. I was a baby.
And then their family raced there for
Right,
generations since the track opened.
Oh, that I know.
All right, look, contact is going to happen. That's fine. But what I'm saying is everybody is going there to encourage somebody to to wreck somebody else out. They're looking for tempers to flare. They're looking for fights.
That's what the fans look at.
Exactly. And that's what's drawing people every week, and that's why they're making money.
And it's not. Plus, NASCAR-style modifieds, there aren't as many options down there.
Now, I do recall seeing a fan video.
That's late model country.
I recall seeing a fan video of the KNN East race when they ran there a couple years ago, and I think Darrell Wallace Jr. was in it, and there was an incident, and you could hear a fan screaming at the top of his lungs.
I mean, how many races do you have somebody drive through the infield after somebody else, and you got people working, or you have track crew on the? I mean, it's just it's unsafe, it's dumb,
Right?
And
but I would put that more on the official side of the fence than I would on the
I do
the track.
think
the driver
that's
should
a
know
valid
better.
point. I do think they. Like stuff like that, drivers have tried to do stuff like that at Wall, and we smush it.
I will agree with Josh on one thing. I think the product is delivered like a hockey game, where like whoever.
I think hockey's more respectable.
But that's part of the.
But I'm saying.
I think the official, like, okay, is it maybe the promoters that tell the officials, hey, you need to let some of this go because look at how many people come here every week?
Right. That's what I'm getting at. I feel like that whenever something starts to happen, even if the official's getting ready to go to his microphone, that there's somebody saying, wait. Let's see where this goes. Let's see how.
Generally, as an official, I don't want to get in specific. I work for 4 different racing series, and I have 4 different directors. Well, I'm a director in some. 4 different. You always have a boss in racing. Even if you're the director, if you're the director and you're running the race, you still have a boss. So they all want different things, and you kind of have to give them what they want. Like, they'll say, this is the expectation our competitors have. This is the expectations I have. Because, there's racetracks, there's 2 different customer bases you have. You have the competitors and you have the fans. And you have to make both of them happy. So you do need to find a compromise. If you really over-officiate things and you have the cars running in a line, you're not going to have any fans.
Right.
But if you let them all destroy each other and their cars are all wrecked, then they're going to not be happy because you let them all destroy each other's cars. So you have to find a happy balance.
Yeah, it makes sense. It just seems like Bowman Gray is finally starting to try and narrow down to what that balance is.
No, I think
this is
as
just
an official,
extreme event.
You need to hold your pits sacred. Your pits need to be sacred. Nothing can happen in the pits. And that's how I strongly feel as an official, because when you go on the track in a race car, you know what you're signing up for. The people in the pits don't take that same vow. So you cannot act that way in the pits. The pit lane is sacred. You cannot, if something happens back there, you have to be very harsh, and that's what Bowman Gray did.
I agree.
If it happens on the track, that's fine. And the stuff in the pits wasn't entertaining any fans.
Right, I agree.
The fans
that
weren't
was
watching
pure
that.
emotion.
All the fans saw were the police car lights come when the guy got arrested.
That was emotion and stupidity is what it was.
Which is
in the pits.
That was not
evident a lot.
entertaining anyone. That was just getting someone hurt.
Well,
I'm just saying the track is by encouraging the environment of all the wrecking and the fighting.
It is,
and everything.
but when you go race
they're
there,
letting the tempers get up there.
When you go race there, you know what you're signing up for.
Yeah, but
it's
what I'm
not like
saying is
it's not like no one's ever goes there. No one ever goes to race there. It's never heard of it. You know what you're going into. So if you go there and you know this is what I'm getting myself into, then you better expect it.
You could not pay me to race there.
And
is what I'm going to say.
Because you don't have an unlimited budget, and you yourself by yourself have to put your car back together. So I know where you're coming from.
But I don't think it's fair to anybody. I think
But they choose to race there. If you ever go to North Carolina, you know how many Wawas we have? That's how racetracks are in North Carolina. You go
That's a
to the
good
next
reference.
you go to the next corner, there's a racetrack. You go a mile down the road, there's a racetrack.
But then why is this?
It's not like New Jersey here. We have 3 ovals. There was a time when New Jersey was like that. We used to have over 50, but
yeah, well,
North Carolina is one of
we have a temporary 4th oval.
Well, that's besides
A
the point.
part-time.
But you know what I mean? It's like
I
you
know,
go
I know.
there.
It's
you go
frustrating.
there. You know what you're signing up for.
As a driver,
You don't like it personally. That's fine. Don't race there.
Oh, well, I mean, that's
There's
part
plenty
of
of
what the
people
show is
that
about,
are.
is that we have different opinions. I mean, as a driver, as a race fan, I think Bowman Gray is terrible. I think it's absolutely terrible. I don't think it's a good display
And
of
I think
racing.
you have a very unique view of that. And it's not that
Oh, I definitely
There's
know that
people
I'm the
that
odd
agree.
man out.
There's people that will agree with you that it's not real racing. I'm actually one of them. I just like being contrary because it makes for a good show. But
It's like Stephen A. Smith over here.
But yeah, that's pretty much what I do without the yelling. Although I get kind of loud sometimes. I'm gonna be in beef jerky commercials soon. Go me. I was making a valid point there, and you brought up Stephen A.
Well,
Smith.
I am going to try to move us along because
Wait,
Let him finish his point.
underlay.
I don't even know. F it.
Well,
All right. Well, all right.
We actually have another real big short track story to talk before we get to Wall,
yes,
and this is huge.
coming up on an hour and a half, so we're going to move forward.
Crap.
Out of the dirt racing world, and I've heard of doctoring tires before.
It happened to
They
a competitor
call
at
me
Turkey Derby.
Dr.
Yes,
Love.
it did. Now,
The 5 pit stalls next to the trailer were getting high.
it appears that after the dirt late model dream at Eldora Speedway, that the dirt car racing officials found 5 competitors. And listen to some of the names of these competitors, as Eric, you pointed out to me earlier. Brandon Shepard, Greg Satterley, Ricky Thornton, Jimmy Owens, and Scott Bloomquist had all their tires or samples of their tires tested by an independent laboratory, and they did not meet the established benchmarks in chemical analysis. And it says that a total of 32 samples were taken throughout the weekend from the participants. All 5 were found to be in violation of the rules, and the penalties are huge. A 3-month suspension from all
Which
dirt
is their
car
entire
racing
regular
sanctioned
season. The last 17 races up until Charlotte in October. That's the entire season they're suspended.
Now, we've heard of the Holy Trinity in terms of motorsports, equipment and cars, and that's, of course, the gas, the engine, the tires. Obviously, this is a big problem. However, Eric, you pointed out an interesting topic or theory, considering the fact that the Dirt Car Series is not the only dirt late model racing series out there.
You could take your car. This is the Dirt DIRT. It's a sanctioning body. This is the World of Outlaws dirt late models. Everybody knows the sprint cars. They have a late model series too. Then you just take your car, you run the Lucas Oil Series, which is on TV. You can see it on MAV TV. They just have just about every race on there and same money. So I think that the dirt people are hurting themselves. They're taking a lot of big names out of their races and putting them all into Lucas Oil.
Now, the one item that makes me raise a bit of an eyebrow is that this isn't the first time that Scott Bloomquist has gotten busted for this. In fact, back in 2009, he was handed a 6-month suspension along the same lines for doctoring with tires. So, in that sense, I'm wondering if when you're dealing with something like this or something as prevalent as this, do you think maybe you punish the second offender more than you did everybody else? Or is it fair that Bloomquist was lumped in with the other 4 and given the same penalty?
Generally, when they do this, they put you on probation for a certain period of time, and as long as you're on probation, then if you do it again, then you get a stricter penalty. So he was off probation at this point, so I guess it's a new...
It's pretty wild, though, to see names, especially Bloomquist and Jimmy Owens.
There's not a collective
Brandon
bargaining
Shepard
agreement here where they have to do certain things like you'd see in the NFL or NBA or Major League Baseball.
Right.
Like there aren't set rules here. There's a rule saying you can't mess with your tires. They don't completely specify what the penalty is. So they could do whatever they want.
The sanctioning body is, in fact, the judge and the jury, and it looks like they handed down a pretty
And the
hefty
executioner
penalty.
in this case.
Yeah.
Yes, that is true. But it's interesting, like you said, if this happened in the Sprint Cup Series, they wouldn't have any options, but they could just take their ball and go elsewhere.
Yeah, it's weird. It's the same exact car. It just seems like you're taking your stars out of your... And I understand you have to penalize these guys, but the whole season, like it just seems like you're hurting yourself.
Exactly.
So I don't understand that. Like, it's not like a safety thing. I know they're cheating. I know messing with tires is horrible.
They had to be penalized. Maybe this wasn't the right penalty.
It just seems like going this far hurts themselves.
Hurts the series.
Hurts the series.
Just like that IndyCar rule we were talking about earlier.
Right. It hurts the series more than it hurts the competitors because they'll be same, like you said, same cars, Lucas Oil. They'll be on TV. See you later.
Well, we'll have to see how that continues to unfold, but we know for sure we won't be seeing those 5 drivers, at least for now, barring an appeal.
So
at
enjoy
any of the
getting your
dirt
names
car
mentioned, guys.
There you go.
I'm sure Scott Bloomquist is
He's a
eagerly
huge
waiting
fan.
He's eagerly waiting for this podcast to drop tomorrow.
Now, as we look forward to what we have coming up at Wall Stadium Speedway, it is in fact the 55th annual Garden State Classic, which is perhaps the second biggest modified event or second biggest race of the 2016 Wall Stadium Speedway calendar.
The second, you gotta hype it up more, Eric. The second biggest modified race in this asphalt modified race in the state of New Jersey this year.
That's pretty good.
Yeah,
What would be the biggest?
the
Turkey Derby.
I wanted you to say it. I'm encouraged. Oh God.
Well, by
You're
the
not
time-
doing it on your
by the
own. I
time-
gotta.
By the
I
time
know, you're
Turkey Derby
feeding us.
comes
You're
around, I'm sure
throwing
we'll
up
have
lobs.
plenty to talk about.
Oh, we will. It's going to be 125 laps for the Downs Ford Modifieds. Winners taking home a check of $5,000. The O'Shea Auto Repair Factory stocks, the Surfside Collision 4-cylinder division, and the ATQMRA will be in action along with the exhibition by the Garden State Vintage Stock Car Club. And then in 2 weeks' time, for the 4th of July, we'll have twin 25s for the 4-cylinders. The Modifieds will be back to a regular show. Snap-on Tool Sportsman Division will be back from a week off. The Elite Maintenance Limited Late Models and Green Flight Driving Experience will also be back in action after having the night of the Classic off.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm not gonna be there next week.
The second?
Yep.
Or July weekend? Where you
Yeah,
going?
I have a 200 lap. It's kind of like something unheard of around here. 200 lap kart race. I'm directing
Where?
in Englishtown.
This is going to be a 2-day event?
It's the
Is it gonna be on the road course or
It's
the
gonna be on the
parking
road
lot?
course.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say that
no,
parking
it's
lot is
gonna be in the
violent.
parking lot track. 200 laps, 3 drivers.
That is
Three drivers, 1 cart.
How do you check the safety when somebody
That
releases?
frightens me more than 2 girls, 1 cup.
What's
I don't know how you're asking these guys to run close to 70 laps each.
Wait? Now, you're asking about safety. What safety are you gonna check?
When they get the belts back in, make sure
What
they got
There's
a
no
tight.
belts in a cart.
Well, wow, what is wrong with me?
Yeah. Well, there are pit rules. I don't have them all down
Ask them if
yet.
they're gonna check the lug nuts too.
Apparently, these races are very common in Indiana, so they're doing a similar. I'm actually going out there in a few weeks too, but they're doing a similar format to that. There's deceleration zones coming into the pits, so there's a cone. You cannot touch the gas pedal after that point. If you do, you get penalized. They have a lot of safety rules in effect.
Okay.
So
How many carts are they expecting? They don't know.
we don't know yet.
Okay.
So there's a junior division.
Is there a
There's
rental
2
division?
junior divisions and an adult division. Probably. It's adult division. It's any cart.
You
So
want to do it, Josh?
I'm tempted.
We need one more.
you could definitely get a rental for it. I can get you a rental.
John maybe will be our third.
Yeah, I would love to have Graham do it, but he's gonna be busy waving flags at people.
Yeah, John.
Well,
could
Sam
be our
Sam
third.
waves flags at people. I direct the series.
Okay.
John
So, wait,
will be our third guy.
do
It's
you want to drive?
the Orgain
I would,
cart
but
the Orgain Kart Race of Champions presented by New Jersey Sprint Series.
Why can't you run on Sunday? I would do it Sunday.
It's a rare night. We very rarely do night
In
races.
fact,
too.
the Classic has a rain date, so if it does rain on Saturday night, we are going to run Sunday.
Yeah, right now it's looking good for Saturday.
Yeah.
But I mean, the
Knock on
the
PVC.
classic, knock on PVC. The classic's great. I mean, we have a chance for my soundbite, a last chance qualifier. It's
Yep.
the last couple of years we've had one for the modifieds. Guys come from tracks all over the area,
Some
and
reports-
it's really cool that it just works out this way. Because the Garden State Classic's been the same week for its existence, but it's just cool that it works out. That's after the track's closed. It's one weekend of the year.
Yep.
Now we
So-
come back with a bang.
We saw Anthony Cecily at our last race out, possibly trying to fine-tune his car a little bit for the Classic. Unconfirmed reports that Matt Hirschman will be in attendance, and the list will go on and on and on.
He doesn't usually miss a classic.
Yep, it'll be great to see. So, also, one quick tip of the cap, not the cat, but the cap, to Bridgeport Speedway. They had
Yeah,
their
that was
pack the
awesome.
track night, and I'll be honest, I don't know how much money they ended up going home with in the till, but they definitely had a ton of people there, and they gave them a lot of stuff to do.
Perfect weekend to do it too.
Yeah,
because they
but-
got basically the whole wall crowd because of the Formula Drift.
Exactly.
And they had the 8-cylinder Enduro too, right?
And they ran every division that runs the track. They ran all their Friday divisions and their Saturday divisions.
They gave an
They
exhibition.
gave them except the modifieds.
I'll tell you,
Right.
I got to run that quarter-mile inner track with the 8-cylinder Enduro thing. I've done that twice. I did it once with my car, one of Lee Allen's cars, and I had an absolute blast.
Yeah.
I suck at dirt. I do. I mean, coming off the turn is fine, but getting into the turn is a whole nother story. That was a lot of fun. I really hope that continues to move forward, and I hope more people come out.
It's
and check
just
that
cool
out.
that they dirt. When does a dirt track ever give 6 divisions?
Yeah, it's not that often.
Well, I mean, it's
on
like,
2 different tracks.
We just at Wall we just call that Saturday, but you can't do that on dirt. But there they have 2 tracks, so it works out.
Yeah, and our buddy Vinny Troyer was in that race as well.
Yes, yeah.
We almost
went
got
the
through
whole
a whole
show without talking about.
But
You're gonna
no,
talk about
I'm
Nick.
gonna
You're
get him in
gonna
there.
talk about Nick Van Winkle too.
Oh yeah, they'll be in there. Well, actually,
We're
they got
already
this
here, why
upcoming
not?
week off. We got to see what they're doing.
Oh boy.
You went out to Grandview. How was the show?
Well,
There's something about
It was-
that name of a sportsman.
yeah, it was one of those nights. I can't fault the officials or track crew. They did the absolute best they could. I started a single file chant in the stands, and they actually went. I did. It was kind of funny. It was like a WWE event. I was going
were you
single file.
Were you drinking?
No, I wasn't drinking. I was just really tired because I wanted to go home at this
Well,
point.
how
It was
many-
close to 11 at this point. We
It
still had
was
a modified race.
Lap 4, 2 reds.
Lap 4, we had 2. By lap 8, we had 2 reds, 5 yellows. And I started the single file chant in turn 3, and I got quite a few people with me, and they actually went single file.
And then
But
they
that's
still
just
wrecked.
because they have a really good crew there, so they knew enough was enough.
But they still wrecked single file, right?
They wrecked once, but
Okay.
it gets to a point. I mean, the drivers don't like single file, but you have to get some laps in.
Yeah.
Drivers,
You have to shake 'em up,
drivers
yeah.
like single file more than like having to put their car together during the week. So I mean,
Yeah.
that's why we do it. But eventually, like the fans were just getting they were getting violent. It was bad. And I've been an official, and I've heard the fans do that. And you sometimes you just have to get some laps in. So we're going single file, guys. Deal with it.
Yeah, put a few laps in. You got to get them sorted out, let them mentally get
But
back
then
focused.
it
on
was like
driving.
11:30, so everybody was kind of like weary at that point. But there was an awesome modified race. The modified race was amazing after that.
That's good to know.
I don't remember the winners because I'm not like Eric here. I might
Yeah.
know the car numbers. I remember car numbers.
Well, I really want to go down and watch Vinny race at Bridgeport, and then I really want to go to Grandview and watch.
You have to
watch that
experience.
show.
You've experienced Bridgeport, New Egypt. You have to experience Grandview. In my opinion, it's one of the. I love my New Jersey tracks, but Grandview is one of the nice. It wins awards every year for being one of the nicer tracks in the country.
It's a strange track as far as dirt
It's
is
shaped like a
concerned.
half pipe, but it's an oval. It's like an oval built on a half pipe.
It's
It's like
Yeah.
Thompson. You know
Because-
Thompson. That you just had that the weird way the banking goes up
Yeah.
in the turns. Like it's high in the middle and lower going in an entry. It's
Yeah.
dirt like that.
yeah. But
And
instead
small,
of
but small.
like Wall, where coming at the end of the stretch, you dive down and run through the turn and then come up off. Grandview, I mean, you're still trying to run a similar.
It's like
style
Thompson.
line.
You kind of just run up into it.
The banking, I mean, it goes just up. It
Wall's
just-
banked all the way around. Where
Yeah.
Grandview and Thompson, it's pretty level in the straight and back straight.
Right.
but
where
instead
Wall's
of-
high
yeah.
banked in the straights too. So it's like Bristol. Bristol's like Wall. I apologize.
But at the same
Wall's
time,
around first.
but instead of most tracks where you would dive down, this is kind of it doesn't go down; it only goes up. So I mean, you still try to run the same style line, but you're not going lower in elevation. You
You
have to
kind of
see
go.
it.
You kind of go up into the turn. It's like Thompson.
Yeah.
You went to Thompson at the same track. Thompson's just a large version of
You
an
said it
asphalt.
3 times and he hasn't reacted. That's why.
No, that's his Eric Brennan. Okay,
No, I'm listening, and then I'm saying
it's
why
just
didn't I
really
go?
cool, and it leads to
And then-
just like Thompson led to a bunch of great races. It leads to great that kind of track shape. It's pretty unique, and it seems to really lead to great racing.
I wish I was able to go. I wish I was able to go watch Vinny, but at the end of the day, I was at a graduation party in the basement with Staten Island Jim watching
Missing
the
out
drug
on
race.
some cornhole,
Missing out on some cornhole.
which is very unlike you.
That's messed up. With that, we're going to
So
wrap things up.
Come to Wall, guys. Wall's gonna be awesome. The Garden State Classic's
This
great.
is going to be a big weekend.
I know Josh doesn't, but come see the factory stocks. Josh,
Yay!
Josh doesn't like modifieds, but this is like a special event. There's some really great.
There's going to be
We
a lot
already
of
we already have an awesome. We have a ridiculous roster. I mean, this is close to what they had in the '80s at Wall, which was the heyday.
Yep.
Like our modified field's ridiculous. But I mean, and you have some of the best drivers from the Northeast coming to race against them. So I mean, this is like a special event here at Wall.
And
It's a
factory
it's a
stock
Turkey
drivers.
Derby preview.
factory stock drivers. You're going to have a lot of time to fix your cars in between the heats and the feature, because Yeah, modified.
Somebody's being a douche.
Who? Me? Oh,
He was talking crap about how long he's gonna have to fix his factory stock.
isn't this stuff amazing for those of you watching on YouTube? These are some of the cool. I'm going to order these on Amazon Prime tonight, and I'm going to just do this for the rest of my life.
I want to counter what Josh said. The modified race actually goes by pretty quick.
It does.
playing with my toys,
I
damn
just
it.
completely jinxed it. But generally,
It really does.
in history,
I'm just being
the
a
modified
jerk.
race goes by pretty quick.
Earl Krause might have to come in a little bit late. He's got a couple family affairs.
You're gonna
attend
get to talk about modifieds a little bit.
I hope so. I hope he makes it there, and then we can call the race
is
together.
Gary gonna
I'm going to
shove
be
you
your
out?
guest in the tower this week, and I'm going to push you out of the way.
You know, it's. I got to talk to Jason Hearn because he would be more than willing to come on here as long as we're not total nimpompoos. And
I
he
thought
would
we were
be
going
great
to invite
talk
him for
to.
this week, and then, your family decided to.
Josh, I'm not offended.
I'm going silent.
I'm just saying, I mean, things got very inconvenient very quickly.
They did. However, it would be cool to talk to him to see how he liked being up in the tower, and if I need to look over my shoulder and if my job is in jeopardy. Probably is. He did damn good.
So there'd be 3 people pushing you to the side up there.
Yeah, it's okay. I could take it.
Earl came back 2 weeks ago. That was cool.
Yeah.
I was back to joking around with him.
No, he's a great guy. Gary's a great guy. Jeff's a great guy. Jason.
Well,
Hurt's
you're
a great
Gary's.
guy.
You're Gary's bitch.
I am. he's like an
Gary
older brother.
appreciates that too.
Yeah. No,
No,
Earl,
you're like his bitch. Not
Earl's
little
like a father
brother.
figure,
Not
and-
little brother. Not a father figure. You're their bitch.
I'll take it. Well, anyway,
Anyway,
we're gonna watch that play out this Saturday. And what did that just say? What's going on?
What?
My
What?
For some reason, these nuts got him. Apparently, Josh made a soundboard, and now I'm talking to myself, and it's kind of weird.
I have no idea what's going on.
I'm itchy. He made a soundboard, and he's just playing with it.
By
now.
the time I edit this podcast, it's going to be up to an hour and a half. All right, we're done.
This is
We're
a
wrapping things
special
up.
Garden State Classic
I gotta head back
preview.
north.
We barely talk about modifieds extravaganza.
That's huge. Okay, we got to go. We'll see you next week when we will review the Garden State Classic. Cup Series will be on the road course at Sonoma. Indycar back at Road America.
I
and
love
there's
that
probably
race.
a whole bunch more stuff
I
that
love
we're going
cup
to talk
cars
about.
on a road course.
It's awesome.
Yep. It's going to be fun.
So, we'll wrap it all up for you.
I get to talk about road courses more,
Yeah, but not in karting.
Doesn't matter. Road courses,
but I'll be previewing the Liberty. I think it's called the Liberty 200 coming up at Englishtown next week.
It'll be fun to talk about it, and I can talk about the belts they don't have. So we'll get in all that next week. Thank you for listening to the RPM podcast. For Josh Matthews, Eric Graham, I'm Eric Brennan. I want to wish you all a safe week. We'll see you at Wall Stadium Speedway. Good night, everybody.